this year.
The May 12th Board of Commissioners meeting for Blue Earth County is now in session. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll start with our agenda review. Bob?
Mr. Chair, there are no changes to the agenda this morning.
I'll move the agenda.
Second. Got a motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? That's passed. Well, this morning, we have a special part of our board meeting, the 2015 Citizens Academy graduation in Blue Earth County. The Blue Earth County Citizens Academy program started on March 24th with 7 consecutive sessions on Tuesday evenings through May 5th. This is the 7th graduating class of the program. Throughout the course of the past 7 weeks, the group of citizen participants were able to get an in-depth look at how Blue Earth County operates and get hands-on learning experience about the services the county provides. Sessions meet at varying county facilities and range from meeting at the historic courthouse to learn about the county budget, followed by a tour of the historic courthouse, to visiting the Ponderosa landfill and having a first-hand opportunity to sit in equipment at the highway department. Man, you can get in a grader. Another highlight of course, that grader would have been my highlight. Another highlight of the program was that participants were able to interact with several staff members and ask specific questions regarding their line of work and departmental responsibilities. On behalf of the Blue Earth County Board of Commissioners, I commend all participants for taking the initiative to apply for this program and for their commitment to show up each Tuesday evening to learn about county government. We are extremely proud of this group and are so glad we had you in the program. At this time, each of you will receive a certificate of completion for participating in the Blue Earth County Citizens Academy. The certificate certifies that each of you have successfully completed the program and congratulates you on your commitment to being an engaged citizen. Jesse will read off the names and I will present you with your certificate to give you a commemorative Blue Earth County coin. Now this is something to really be cherished.
It's real pewter.
It's real pewter, yeah. And getting a photo with you, and then the board will congratulate you. We will begin in alphabetical order. The board is going to line up in front here, and thank you. Kip, if you want to stand next to me, you can hold the coins.
And we just have to have a picture. So thank you for a great last 7 weeks. All right.
You got the coins.
Yes. Kip, can you do the coin?
Yeah, you're all right.
I'll just
The
sit up
one you
here.
handing one person.
They're in order.
Hey, you sure are.
I checked them like twice.
Okay.
Just make sure we have the right alphabet one. Yes. All right, we'll get started. Our first graduate is Mr. Leonard Carpenter. Congratulations, Leonard.
Right, come around this way.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
That works. Thanks for being interested. Thank you.
Thanks for your participation.
Our next graduate, she couldn't be with us today. Her grandson was getting married, but Anita Dietrich. Hers is not out of there, so we'll just have to put it behind.
Make sure.
Then, Ms. Carol Fuller. And she'll also be accepting for her husband Dennis Fuller, who's at work. Congratulations.
Yes.
That's what, almost two times.
You gotta be sure it's signed.
We checked that twice, too.
Thank you for participating.
Up next, we have Nicole Brunswick Nicholson.
Thank you.
Congratulations to you too.
Carolyn Baker.
Yeah.
Thanks for participation.
All right, our next graduate, Catherine Kallenberg. She actually can't be here today. She graduated from MSU, she was taking finals last week, and so she went home to do her summer job, so she can't be with us today. She wishes she graduated this year. Next up, we have Darcy Carroll. And a beautiful family.
Congratulations. Thank you so much for participating.
Thank you for your hard work. Thank you for your interest.
Mary Kate Lewis.
Thank you.
Our next graduate is Missy Vanderfeld.
Thank you. Learned a lot.
And did you send your son's best
I did. No, not this.
Okay, Ms. Caroline McGowan. Thank you, I'm very excited.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Congratulations.
And our esteemed videographers, our first graduate is Mary Peterson.
You never get to see.
Out from behind the curtain.
Don't look behind that curtain.
Congratulations.
And then Mr. Robert Peterson. You guys should be little pros at county government.
Thank you.
Okay, our next graduate, Mr. Gary Schott.
Thank you, Gary.
We have Kim Scott.
Yes. Congratulations.
All right. Ms. Mary Stindle.
She knows the other side of the
Good job. So that's where you were every Tuesday night.
He's a little slow enough to.
Our next graduate, Diane Ward, couldn't be with us this morning. She had some work commitments, so. Next, Mr. David Wenzel.
Thank you, David. Oh, he's the one that bumped me.
And last but certainly not least, Ms. Linda Wellness.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Spend it all night.
I know.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And thank you to the board for allowing this program to take place.
Thank you, Greg.
You can tell them they can hang around if they want.
You can stay for the meeting. It's really, really exciting.
What's her name again? What's her name?
They at least learn what to say.
Jesse. Maybe she should take the donuts out in the hall. Oh, they didn't get one?
Yeah, say, and we got a box full of donuts here. We're gonna take them out in the hall if you want to have some.
We forgot to tell everybody about it.
Trust me, I don't need it.
She knows, man.
She knows.
She's only being polite to you today.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Let's go on to our commissioner reports on committees. You want to start us off here, Drew?
Sure. Our last meeting we had was April 28th, board meeting. And at that meeting, just a couple quick highlights I thought was interesting was that we approved that new finance policy for the cluster, larger cluster systems for septic systems in the county out there by Rapidan. And then we also approved the bid for the wonderful new building that'll be a service building at the Ponderosa. And I thought that was some pretty nice things for our county that we worked on. And then we had a nice luncheon at Charlie's. On the same day, I noticed that we had some other commissioners there. I just popped in at the business showcase that they had event at the Verizon Wireless Center, which is put on by the South Central College of Business. I think Kip, you were there.
Yeah,
I saw Mark was there.
I was.
Yeah.
I think you had to-
Stopped in. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
Good to see all the folks.
Marion stopped in.
And then, of course, we were in a hurry there because we all had to be at the annual county parks board meeting at Williams Nature Center. And that was a wonderful meeting, wrapping up the year and hearing what's been going on. May 4th, I met with Bob Meyer just to review some county issues. Wednesday, May 6th, or excuse me, May 5th, we all were at the work session. Had some good information on their mental health services in our county, and we also had our luncheon out at the Prairie Box Saloon, and I know my way out there. It's wonderful, out in Cambria. And then May 6th, on Wednesday, I participated in the MINRA, which is the Minnesota River Area Agency on Aging board meeting in Redwood Falls. And the thing we've been really dealing with a lot lately is the transition issues. They're transitioning from being under the umbrella, so to speak, of Region 9, and now they're going to become a standalone organization, 501c3. They're going to have their own employees, their own, everything will be a standalone organization. And so they're making decisions and changing bylaws and things like that. So we work on that sort of thing. And that'll be new for them for a lot of years. May 8th, on Friday, I attended the AMC Annual Conference Planning Committee. And there's 10, districts in Minnesota for AMC. And so one person from each district was represented at the committee meeting, and a couple of staff from AMC. Jack Swanson, our first vice president, is the chair of that committee, and then Gary Hendricks is the second vice chair, or vice president for AMC, and so then he's the vice chair. And we met in St. Cloud, right where the conference is going to be this year, and reviewed a lot of issues coming up. It was a very good work session, I'm telling you. We worked hard. And the one issue they wanted to deal with was that last year they ended up that night when everybody checked in, 32 rooms were empty at the Kelly Inn. And it's a problem because people overbook. And so this year, for sure, we're going to work at some issues, try to contact counties to really, get them to look at what they're reserving, make sure that that's what they really need. And AMC is actually developing a policy whereby you could actually get fined if you don't have cancel your rooms by a certain reasonable date, so that other people can use them.
Sure.
Yeah, so they're working on that. And then I went to this demographer workshop we had through the Human Service Department right over here at our government center, and that was very good. It was Miss Andy Egbert, and she's the assistant director for the Minnesota Demographic Center here. There's about 5 or 6 staff in their office, and she talked primarily, even though she gave us statistics on Blue Earth County, she also talked about the statewide trends that are happening, forecasting things. And believe it or not, we're forecasted to grow in this region right here up through about 2030. And the forecast is we won't grow past that population-wise. We're just going to level right off. And so some of that has to do with migration issues, the aging baby boomers.
Births.
Huh?
Yeah, births.
And lower births. She got a big chuckle out of it because...
More deaths and lower births.
Well, what's happening is there's more deaths and lower births, exactly what you said, and so she was trying to encourage everybody to encourage young families to have more babies. And got a good chuckle in there. And then also she talked about some of the poverty issues that are facing our region, and they're real. She said they're not a mistake or in the numbers. Technically, we're the highest in the state, 28%. And then when you factor out all the students, it's 17%, which is still higher than anybody. So,
But then if you factor out the students that are not in housing, you factor the ones that are on their own housing, it's
Yeah.
down to average.
11 or 12.
11 or 12.
Yeah,
what it
a little
is.
bit, yeah.
So really what I got out of that is that we are really average
Think so?
compared to the other counties
Yeah.
in this
It's
area.
skewed towards the fact that you have all these young people and then they're college age and they're, it kind of goofs it up.
so they're more of a transition group. Yeah. Other than that, I'm looking forward to, let's see, what was it? We got something going on this afternoon. I just wanted to mention before I forget it. We've got the Lifestyle Expo, and today it's from 3 to 7 instead of during the day, like before it starts in the morning. So I encourage everybody to go stop in.
Verizon?
Verizon Center, anytime between 3 and 7 p.m. today. So thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Will?
Okay, after the board meeting on the 28th, Kip and I had the ditch advisory board meeting. Went over just a few issues on county drainage there. Then on the 30th, I attended the annual TDS fundraiser. This year they're raising money for the summer reading program at the libraries, and I'm happy to report they raised $10,000 for the summer reading program.
Very nice.
So that's a significant increase over the past years. On the 4th, I had my briefing with the residents at Crystal Seasons, and I'm noticing a new trend. I have people that don't live at Crystal Seasons stop in and attend the briefing and also talk about issues, county issues. So that's been a very successful program for me. Had the work session, of course, on the 5th, and then after that I had the TDS Policy Committee meeting, just updating some policies for the regional library system. Department heads on the 6th. On the 7th, I had the Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund committee meeting at At TDS, again, we continue to give sub-grants to the libraries in the area mostly for summer reading programs right now. And that continues to be a good program using legacy dollars. And after that, I attended the National Day of Prayer recognition at the Criminal Justice Center, along with representatives from the Sheriff's Department, and the County Attorney was also there. Then yesterday, I met with representatives of the Department of Agriculture regarding the upcoming testing on County Ditch 57. Talked about some issues there, and then had the detox meeting at New Ulm after that. Trend there, they were very busy in the last few months, and Blue Earth County continues to be the #1 consumer of their services. So that brings us up to today.
Thank you. Kip?
After last meeting, Will already mentioned the Ditch Advisory Committee meeting. I also was down at the business event. That was a well-attended event. Unfortunately, we did have to rush out of there for the Parks program. I thought the Parks program went very well out at the
Williams.
Park.
Yeah.
We walked down afterwards and looked at the overview of the river, but they did a nice job getting that park cleaned up. They cleaned it up in the nice out in the front area in the parking, and it looked really good. I haven't been out there for a couple years, so thought they did a good job with that. Had MRCI board meeting. Everything is moving along fairly well at MRCI. We got plenty of work for everybody. The candy sales are starting to pick up a little bit again and keeping everybody busy. The new building's working out great. Got a couple new board members. Clyde retired, one of our accountants, so we're working through that and getting him replaced. He was there for, I think it was 32 years, Bob. So, long time. He did a great job. We had the work session, which was already mentioned, covered a lot of different issues. Had the school visits with Jesse Beyer and presented to 4 classes between department head meeting. Had a great time up there. I think they were all seniors this year. It's always fun to talk to those young kids and tell them a little bit about county politics and how I got elected. Jessie gives a little presentation on all of our county buildings and what we got going on in the county. She does a great job with that. They keep asking me back, so we must be doing a good job. So, and I'm sure it's Jessie selling most of it for me. So, I was also at the department head. Then we had planning and zoning last Wednesday night. A couple of small items on there we'll see at the end of this month, but nothing alarming. And then I participated in the Day of Prayer with Commissioner Purvis and a couple other staff. Pat was there, and that was a nice little program with the Justice Center. So that brings me up to today, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Mark?
Okay, Mr. Chair, yep, the business showcase after a board meeting, last board meeting, and the chair was there too. And then we did have a Parks board meeting at Williams, and that's as has been stated, really coming along really nice. Work session on the 5th, department heads the 6th. On the 7th, we had our Banker Area Planning Organization approved a short, a mid, and a long range plan for our area. I can go online. It's a pretty big packet, but we put together, like, it has even our bridges we're trying to get this year, the short term, part of the plan. It's all in that, and that was approved on the 7th. And then on the Friday the 8th, I did attend the Raw Fusion fundraiser at the Verizon. I'd never been there before. Has anybody been there before?
No, is it fun?
Yeah, it's very interesting. The costumes. I can honestly say that it was kind of fun. Maybe the crowd. There's a lot of guys, maybe more women, but it was Well, it was over 1,000 people, they figure, and the proceeds go to, of course, that's one of the reasons why I went, was they go to Partners for Affordable Housing, so they're figuring on 20,000, I think it'll be more, so
Wow.
it's a good thing.
Incredible.
And our new director was one of the judges, and we did have a contestant, and she did well. And then what happens, of course, they have a nominal fee for nonprofits, so we'll be in it again next year, because you get a little visibility that way. Yeah. Colin the leather guy.
Rashkovitz?
Yeah, he was there. He was the only dude in the
In the whole thing?
Yeah, usually they have a few more. Well, they kept saying dudes. I don't know. So he was the only dude though.
A rather tall one.
Yeah, tall one. Yeah.
Yes.
And then of course on the 11th I did see the Vance and Drew, the demographer. That was very interesting. That's why I wanted to go caught that. And then this morning, wild-eyed and bushy-tailed at 7 o'clock, I was at Happy Chef North for the Exchange Club. They asked me to every so often give a little report kind of on the.
Nice.
They have people like Lee Palmer right there.
Oh, sure.
And
Very nice.
Ken Safford. So yeah, good group.
Very, very
Anyway,
nice.
so that brings me up to date, Mr. Chair.
All right. Well, I won't go over all the stuff that everybody else went over. On April 29th, I did have our annual meeting. The chair gets to meet with the state auditor's office and go through all the stuff. Lisa was there and Bob, and so we went through, and we're doing very well here in Blue Earth County. We are blessed to have the staff we have taking care of our funds. Our board work session on the 5th. On May 6th, I attended the South Central Minnesota Emergency Preparedness Conference at SCC. And I went through such things. There was a fellow from the Brainerd Lakes area talking about the 8-day power outage they had up there last fall, and how they handled their emergency, their hospitals, and they were 8 days without power and water also. So as you can imagine what would happen in Mankato if we had 8 days without power here in the whole city. It would be rather
Oh, man.
the emergency personnel would be really put to their task. And then there was an individual who talked about the impact of climate change and health impacts on Minnesotans, and how climate change is changing the different health issues in the state of Minnesota. That was kind of interesting. But I always look at, there was a statement up there, and it was given by Ben Franklin. And by failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail.
Wow.
And
Very good.
so that was, it was a good conference, and of course, I recognize a lot of our emergency personnel from the Blue Earth County area, so it was really good. On May 7th, I was able to be with my wife at the Marriott, where she spoke to the American Heart Association function there. My wife had a heart attack a year ago last February, and as a survivor, she's speaking at different Heart Association functions. It was really a nice event.
Wow.
And then that afternoon, I had my agenda discussion with Bob. On May 8th, I had an All Seasons Arena board meeting. We discussed a new scoreboard at the All Seasons Arena. We discussed the Monks Avenue resurfacing, which is going on right now. If you ever go up there by the All Seasons Arena, you'll find out all Monks Avenue is just all tore up. It's a mess.
School's out.
The GMG, we talked about the new GMG Sports Commission, which Mark is on. And then the MSU contract that we're negotiating with MSU for All Seasons Arena. And then, of course, on the 11th, yesterday, I was there with the state demographer along with Mark and Drew. So that's the end of my report. And I think we're going to go right into finance. Lisa, if you want to come on up here, come on down.
Is the price is right with finance?
What do I want?
Lisa did an amazing job. Like I said, we are very, very proud to have the finance people we have in Blue Earth County. So thank you very much.
Our audit is actually over about a month earlier the last few years. Part of that is because of technology. We're able to send them electronic copies. This year, with the help of IT, we were able to actually get them in our system too, to look at things that they need to audit, and so that's really speeded up our audit. So it's nice to see that we don't have to see the state auditors very often. So the audit is almost complete. We just have a few cleanup items that we have every year. So I have a few items that need your approval. The first one's approval of the operating transfers for 2014. Is there any questions?
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any questions to Lisa? We have no questions. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? That's been passed.
The next item is the approval of the revenue budget adjustments for 2014.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. You want to explain anything on there, Lisa?
Let's see. Well, like Public Works, it depends on what road projects they start and, some of the money they get. So they didn't get as much as we originally budgeted for. That was probably the biggest adjustment in that fund.
Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? It's passed.
The next item is approval of the expenditure budget adjustments for 2014.
Motion
Motion for approval.
and a second.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any questions? Is there anything you'd like to comment on this, Lisa?
Here again, the ditches had an adjustment, and that has to do with projects. I think some of those were delayed. It takes time to get some of those together, and so we'll see more of those in 2015.
And all that gets assessed back to the ditches, so.
Right.
There was a large one too in Human Services. It was kind of large too, wasn't it? Adjustment here. And
Actually, we had to increase the general fund because of health insurance went way up, our expenditures for that. So that was over $1 million.
Okay. Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? It's passed.
And then we have our rep letter, where we take responsibility, for management and everything else. And so we'll need a signature on that. And the other item that the auditors will be waiting for is the attorney letter, which hopefully will be done sometime this week.
Do we need to approve that rep letter?
No, that just gets signed.
It just gets signed?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it just goes to the board for information, and then
All right.
you'll sign it as the chair. And Bob and I.
I'll sign it after the meeting.
I think it'd be nice if we could have a motion to authorize your signature.
Authorize the signature.
Oh, okay.
I'll move authorization of the signature.
Okay.
Got a motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? That's passed. Thank
So
you.
hopefully we'll have our annual report. You'll get a copy the beginning of June.
All right.
Thanks.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
a
you
lot.
very much.
Start all over again.
Yeah.
And now, Mr. Tim Edwards. We have a radio tower replacement.
Good morning.
Morning, Tim.
Morning.
Thank you for the time. Just kind of wanted to update you. We did a analysis on our radio tower that we have off of Collette Drive, and the analysis came back that it was structurally in need of, should I say repairs, but the recommendation from the structural analysis people were to replace your tower. So we dealt with a consultant, Edge Consulting out of Wisconsin. They do a lot of towers. I'm not a real good tower guy, as you probably know, but so they
You like
kinda-
those heights?
No, I watched him crawl up that thing at 350. That was good enough. But they came back with They took us out for some bids, and we got 3 bids that came in to tear down the old tower and replace it with a new 350-foot guide tower. Pretty much in the same location. Tower's going to be shifted out a little bit so we can get the new tower up before we take the old tower down, so we can have all our antenna lines, all our equipment on the new tower into the building and prepared for hookup before we take the old down. So the transfer over from the old equipment to the new equipment should go really smooth. We're anticipating down for less than an hour the way it's sounding.
Wow.
We worked with Alpha Wireless as well. They're going to be doing the hookup on the inside of the tower as well. So, but with the three bids that we did receive, we did a little research on all 3 of them with Alpha, with Edge Consulting as well, to find out how familiar everybody was with them, and they all said that the low bid from Joe Daniels Construction, they are a very reputable company for building towers and everything else. So my recommendation would be to accept the low bid from Joe Daniels of $275,572.
I'll make a motion for acceptance.
Got a motion? You got a second from Will? Any questions?
See, the 1765 Quinlet Drive, so that's pretty close to some neighborhoods there then.
Correct, yep.
Yeah, so that was-
We're
Are they looking at it, wondering, or? I don't know how I have.
No, they can see it kind of from their backyard about it. We got some apartment buildings on this side of it, but no, we've never had any issues.
It wasn't
with it.
leaning or ready to rusted and falling apart right off.
No, we keep it, we do our annual inspections every year, but when they're crawling up there and they see some bent guy wires and some piping up there.
How old is it?
Yeah.
I did all the research I could to find out, and I see 1970s.
Really?
It's the last record that I could find on some of it, but I believe it's older than that. I mean, but I couldn't find any more records on it from how long we've owned it and stuff like that either. So
My brain is working correctly. That was the tower that we had a certain burglar in this area that cut those wires.
You would be correct.
Okay.
To try to eliminate the emergency personnel from.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
That was,
Yeah.
how long ago was that?
That was a long time ago.
I was going to say, because
But Will and I were around at that time working in
we did fence around it, except there's a ravine there that comes up behind the houses, and we looked at fencing by the houses, but there was no need to run a fence past everybody's house on the backside as well, but we fenced it and gated it, so.
Sure. You can
It's a
only
little
do
more
it-
secure, but they used to go in there and spin around with the cars around the guy wires as well, and
Oh,
not a good thing to hit. So.
I was just curious for the fun of it. Were the bids, I mean, when they serve a bid, did you see a big difference in the deconstruction of it? I mean, do we bid that out separately, or is that
No, it
all
was
in one bid, the whole
All
thing?
in one bid, correct, yep, and everybody came in, pretty close with, 275, 285, so.
And then they get the reclamation then too and everything. I mean, they get the metal from the old tower.
Correct.
They
Yep.
just take it, it's part of their bid.
Correct, yep. They asked us if we wanted it, and, trying to haul our way around the tower, and once it was even cut up, we're like, no, take it, clean it all up, get it out of here, so we didn't have to deal with that part of it, so.
We have private vendors use that tower too, don't they?
Correct, yep,
So it produces revenue for us.
correct, yep.
Okay. There's no other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against? Passed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate it.
All right, and we are going to go right to the tax abatement policy. Mr. Michael,
Good morning.
Good morning.
how are you, young man?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Oh, the sun is shining. It's in between the clouds, but it's shining, and life is good.
And it's a Tuesday. It's a board Tuesday, so it's always a good day. Right?
That's why the sun's shining, right?
That's
Exactly.
why the board is meeting, the sun is shining.
Exactly right. Well, for the record, I'm Michael Stahlberger, Deputy Director of Taxpayer Services, and I have tab 10 for you today, which is the county-wide abatement policy. We've met at several work sessions, or at 2 work sessions, to discuss this. So this is the formal request for adoption of that policy. As you may recall from the policy, we're looking for delegation of authority to approve abatements to the Taxpayer Services Department. That will include any abatement up to $10,000 in refund or credit as a result of the correction or change. It does not include economic development abatements, which is under a different chapter of Minnesota statute. And it does include all local option disaster abatements for fires or whatnot. Some of the other policy provisions that we've worked on, all abatements will be considered. They are approved at the discretion of the Taxpayer Services Department. If that delegation goes through today, that decision is final. If the abatement would result in a credit of less than $10, it will be denied and not approved at that level. We are also going to be applying any credit or refund to any delinquent taxes that might be actually on that parcel at the time of the abatement application. The policy also sets some clear guidance for our department in approving or denying the abatements. It requires a proving of a hardship or a clerical error in any instance before that abatement would be approved. If you have any other questions, I can try to answer those for you. The abatement is included in there.
The only question I had, were we going to add that you're going to give a report once a year in the policy then?
Absolutely, yep, you're correct. I did add that in as a request from our last work session. So there'll be an annual update when we come through with our assessor changes in December.
I didn't know where it was, but yeah.
Yep, it got included in there.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
What are the wishes of the board?
I'll move approval.
Second.
And a motion and a second. Any more questions?
No, I think the informational meetings we had on it were very helpful.
Yeah.
And again, works really well, bringing that to the work session format and get our questions answered, so.
Very good.
Thank you for all your hard work on that.
All right, well, thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against? It's passed. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Enjoy your Tuesday.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Craig?
Hi, Craig.
Morning, Craig.
Good morning. Okay, I guess we'll start out with, we have 3 ditch inspections. The first one, County 36, is pretty much cut and dried. Broken gate needs to be repaired. The next 2 are, if you notice there, initially there's just a lot of blowouts on tiles, but there is concern that they're in clusters. Usually that's an indication that there is something more wrong, more major. We probably won't know what that more major thing is until we start digging up the tile. So it might be just, when we might decide just to patch it, just as where the quest here, the inspection report is, or we may have to come back and do some, have either landowner meetings or do something more major, so.
I notice there's enough money there though, so if you do encounter some things, there's some room
Yeah, unless it's,
in the account.
unless we're talking hundreds of thousands or something. Yeah. So, and those are the 3 ditch inspections I have for you today.
I'll move approval.
Second. And a motion and a second. Any more questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against? It's passed.
And on the last item here, we are looking at receiving LCCMR funding for demonstration projects on County District 57. This is kind of a continuation of some of the work we were doing on our project in Mapleton that was actually 2011 when that was constructed. So what I'm asking the board action today is to assign the attached resolution in support and acceptance of the role as fiscal agent and recipient of the potential funding dollars awarded by this grant for the continuation of monitoring of Blue Earth County Ditch 57 for flow and water quality.
I'll move for approval of that. Sounds like a really good program. We talked about that before, remember?
Yep.
I'll second it.
And,
Got a motion and a second.
This is just pass-through funds, so.
Yeah, we don't
spend
have
any more.
anything yet.
Right,
It's
but
just,
We won't spend more than we get from the grant.
yeah.
yeah.
And we talked about the value of monitoring that water quality in that ditch project out there by Mapleton and how important that was. And so
Yes.
this will help with that.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Any more questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against? It's passed. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Craig.
Thanks, Craig.
And now we have our county attorney's caseload information. Pat?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Get a second to go back to where I was.
That got us right on time. You did. Did you notice that?
I was a little worried there for
I was
Chair.
too.
Notice I haven't said too much, too.
I'm not going to talk about that.
So I just want to start off, the information is in the packet with respect to some of the case filings, and I simply don't want to stand here and regurgitate that information. As I stated before, we did kind of have a lump with getting caught up, but I do think that we are going to have some sustainability. And just, I was in and out of the meeting with the state demographer that a few of you were at yesterday, and I believe that she referred to it as the Pinocchio effect because of the number of individuals that we have here in college-age students, and typically the vast majority of crimes are committed by persons that are 18 to 24 years old. So I think that that's why if you compare Blue Earth County to some other counties of comparable population size that don't have the colleges, that's why our numbers are typically higher than other places. And just one other thing to keep in mind with respect to that, and the juvenile filings, what I did want to focus on just a little bit is I did go back and finally get some of the information, took the time with respect to the children in need of protection of services cases, the termination of parental rights cases, and the truancy cases. If you kind of look at the moving pace, it appears that the truancy, or the termination of parental rights cases will be down for the year, but I think that is, at this juncture, at this point of the year, I'm not going to say that they're going to be down, because there's many times that CHIPS cases that get filed after January 1st will turn into termination cases. If they can't take care of the issues in the CHIPS cases, then they'll move forward with termination. So we'll just have to wait and see. I would think that number will probably steadily increase just a little bit. But one of the areas with respect to that is I just wanted to bring your attention to one of the areas for quite a few years that has not been taken care of like it should have been in the past, is with respect to appeals. And I can guarantee you that any termination case that we have turns into an appeal. And typically the average, if there is such thing as an average termination case, you're looking at approximately, and I've gone back and I've looked at some of these other areas, and I've asked some of the appellate people in the area, what do they typically spend on an average termination case? They'll spend 120 hours on an appellate case. So if you look and say that, okay, if we have 12 for the year, I'm going to say at least 10 of those are going to end up on appeals, and we need to start dedicating more time to that, and that's just one area for you to be aware of. If it's a typical criminal appeal, if it's a simple appeal, probably 20 hours, usually average 40 hours, but then on top of that, if it's more complex and whatnot. And the reason that I bring that up to you is I had an occasion to talk with Lori Swanson and some of the individuals in her office, and even though the Attorney General is very good about taking care of some of these appellate issues in the criminal cases, more and more over the years, they've been pushing cases back on the individual counties, and that's just one area that we need to be cognizant of and whatnot. So, and I'll be getting some more information as time goes on in those areas. With respect to any of the numbers or any of the graphs, do you have any questions, concerns, comments that you'd like to raise at this point?
Yeah, and they're similar. I mean, the trends seem similar to the last ones you gave us, as far as
sure
looking just this year.
Right.
And the only thing I can think of is it goes through my mind, I can't help it, and I'm sure you've thought about this too, and I don't know how much time and energy you need to put into something like this, but is when you look at, let's say you've got the, in the red, the pace moving average for, which is 932, let's just say, on the felony, but then actually charges 309.
Correct.
And for me, if I was really looking at this and trying to get some meat out of it, I would just be wondering what it was last year, the same picture.
Okay.
Or the exact same picture, or the year before even.
Sure.
Kind of like when you're looking at a budget, you look at, okay, well, last year, how come we spent this much money, and now this year we didn't spend that much? Like last year, did we have about 900, cases charged or filed, not charged, and then did we have about 300 cases actually charged? And that would be interesting, I think, to maybe the board, to see if we are changing, if there's a trend changing for the year or not, because technically, we could end up with a year way down then, if we don't have a lot more towards the end of the year, actually charged cases.
Right, and I hope you're right. That will be way down.
Yeah. I hope the trend actually does go down, considering what's going on throughout the country.
Sure.
They're trying to work with people and trying to not charge felonies for every little occurrence of some problem, because it just ends up clogging up the system sometimes. So.
Sure. Well, I can look into that and see if we can run those numbers and get that for an average comparison for 2014. So,
okay, thank you.
Any other questions, concerns, comments on any of that information?
Thank you.
No? Okay, I just wanted, before I finish, I do want to turn to just a couple of things that you need to be aware of. I've continued to work with the schools with respect to the implementation of the truancy intervention program, which will require some assistance from Human Services, because again, this is going to be the the proactive approach to some of these areas instead of waiting for the cases to come in. And hopefully, I met last 2 weeks ago with members of District 77, and we'll hopefully have that in place. The goal is to have this in place by the beginning of the school year next year, and so we'll try to head some of those cases off at the pass so we can deal with those issues up front and not have to bring individuals into court in that area. One other thing, recently I did give a presentation at Vine in a couple of different areas, and one of those was safety tips for seniors. It has to do with the scams and the identity theft type issues and whatnot. So if you know of if you have any organizations, civic groups, church groups, or whatever that you think would be interested in a presentation along those lines, please let me know. I'm more than happy to go out and do that. Also with that was a presentation relating to the senior abuse and financial exploitation. As the demographer was talking yesterday, we're talking about we'll have by 2030 in the nation about 2 in 10 people will be over age 65. And when it comes to senior abuse, I think that all of us here are technically counted in that demographic, if you will, because I don't believe any of us is under 50. But in our lifetime, they say that 1 in 10 individuals in that age group over age 50 will experience some type of senior abuse. And it's a growing area, typically an additional 2 million people a year. From a financial standpoint, the losses, and I know that Commissioner Brunder, the conversations that we've had regarding one case, but nationwide about $3 billion in losses. So,
a lot.
Yeah. I just wanted to double check my notes here, but no, that should be good. So if there's any other questions, concerns, comments you have, but in any event, if you do come up, and I will send you I got sidetracked before coming down here and walked out without the handouts, but I'll get the handouts to you with respect to if you do have anyone in the areas that would like presentations in either of those areas, just let me know.
Say, Pat, just a quick question,
Sure.
Pat. With the discussions you're having with District 77 and the truancy stuff, is Human Services involved in these conversations?
They are involved. I've involved Phil, but not at this level. He knows what's going on. I've had continued talks with Phil on that, and it's just basically going to be more of connecting with services and determining what services are.
Which makes sense you would, but
Right. Actually, Bob and I talked a little bit about it a couple of weeks ago in that area.
Okay.
Because on the website there's like a 16-page handout of services and just getting that information, because many times that's what it is. It's just educating people that if you need some if you need assistance in certain area, here's where you need to go to.
Right, and it's always good to have a program like that to cut back your workload, but it also pushes more work on someone else in the prevention side. But it's a good thing.
Right.
But just as long as everybody's involved and everybody's on the same page, I think that's a good program to start. So.
Right, and and the studies have shown that when you get into these areas that again it's money well spent in the respect, because you have to go back to I believe it was 2011 that the state put out that its average cost about $44,000 a year to house somebody in prison. You get into some of the areas that I believe that in the federal prison system, about 59% of individuals in the federal prison system don't have a high school diploma or an equivalent. So the goal is to address those issues and keep the kids in school.
All right.
And then with that,
Thank you very
on
much.
the back of the
Thank you.
years.
Thanks, Pat.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Pat.
And I think we'll take about a 10-minute break.
Okay.
We'll call the meeting back to order again. We're going to go and do some administrative services. It doesn't look like Mr. Forsberg's here yet, but he wasn't supposed to be here until 10 after.
Right.
So we're a little early. So, Bob?
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, first up are the county board minutes of April 28th of this year.
I'll move the minutes.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against? Been passed. Okay, then we got the bills.
I'll move the bills.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Any questions?
I just only had a couple. On the first week, that Kibble equipment, with an equipment purchase of $7,477. I was just curious, what?
It's a John Deere Gator that the Parks Department purchased.
Oh, okay. All right. So that's a Public Works thing.
That's correct.
And then S&S Motors, I know it's like mostly a car dealership as far as I know of.
Used cars.
Okay.
Used cars.
I'm sorry,
Cortland.
Mr. Commissioner, it's a used car dealership.
I go by it. It's in Cortland.
And it's been there a long time. I was just wondering, equipment repair for $15,000 just kind of makes me question what's that about. I just want to check.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit of a classification error in the description, but it is a new vehicle for the Drug Task Force.
A new vehicle to them?
Yes, yes, it is a used vehicle.
Okay. All right, that just kind of, yeah. And then one on the last week was Excel Energy. I know we have those regularly on our thing, and it's $17,404. And I just wanted to make a comment about it too. I don't know, I'm sure we look at these things, but they had put a request in for about a 10 to 12% increase in their rates. And it doesn't impact the county probably as heavy as it does the city, because the city spends hundreds of thousands of dollars, or if not millions, on electricity. And for us, I saw in the paper the other day that their rates went up to, they were approved for about 6% instead of the 10, 12 that they were asking for. So that impacts our, it impacts our bills, that we pay. And I was just wondering if that's probably factored in, isn't it, in our planning for our budget?
Yes, we did build an additional amount into our budgets, anticipating that increase going into effect.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Bob. Yeah.
Is that it?
That's all I had.
Oh, anybody else?
Nope, I'm okay.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against? Been passed. All right.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, item number 4 in your packet is the Human Resources Department agenda. We have a couple of action items this morning. First is authorization for the county board chair and the county administrator to sign an agreement with the Teamsters Local 320, which is our dispatchers in the Justice Center. This is a collective bargaining agreement for calendar years 2015 and 2016. The general wage adjustment is similar to other bargaining groups that we have negotiated deals with. We did, though, add the additional shift differential that was awarded by an arbitration award to our custody officers, and so the third shift for the dispatchers from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. will receive a shift differential for the first time of 25 cents per hour. So I'm recommending approval of or authorization for the chair and myself to sign those agreements.
I shall move.
Second. Got a motion and a second. Any questions?
See, what's the percentage again in a yearly?
2.5% for both 2015 and 2016.
The only comment I'd have on that too is that looking at some of the information we've been gathering, I don't know if the unions know some of the financial changes that are coming down the pike for benefits, increases in cost for the county, all these kind of things. I don't know. I hope that they are prepared to understand that maybe the 2.5 might not be, the normal wage adjustment that people get. It might go down because there's a lot coming down the pike here in the next couple of years. And anyway, I just wanted to make a comment about it. Because
Insurance is.
Health insurance is going to be.
And the health insurance issue that's coming up in a couple of years. So, I mean, we're looking at some major expenses to the county, which we haven't had before. Bob's been highlighting some of those for us and when we sit and talk. And so, going forward, I don't know. I know that you do a good job of negotiating, Bob, with the unions, and I know who's on that with them now.
No,
We're not on that anymore. We just
staff.
get notified, more or less.
Right.
Yeah. So, and your HR staff.
And they still do a good job without us, yeah.
Yeah.
Hard to believe.
Yeah, they do a good job, the management.
So, but I did want to make that comment because.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. Do we have a motion?
Didn't we?
Yeah. I made a motion.
Motion and a
Somebody
second.
seconded
All in
it.
favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against? It's passed. It's funny, I have to ask that, after this last mistake I made a couple weeks ago. I make sure that, okay, we get it.
The next item is kind of a cleanup from our last meeting. You'll recall that I presented the renewal of the health insurance premium increase of 9.9%. It was voted on, but we failed to get a motion in a second. And so procedurally, we need to clean that up and revisit that and get it to be.
I'll even move it. I thought something like that last time, but the power of the chair, and I said, maybe I missed it.
I take full responsibility.
I'll move it.
When I mess up, I take full responsibility. I got a motion, we have a second?
Second.
Oh, yeah.
Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Against? It's passed.
The remaining items on the human resources agenda are all informational. We have a number of positions that have been filled. One, I guess, item to note is item D, a voluntary demotion of a custody officer to a license center specialist, kind of moving from a shift position to a daytime office position. So a voluntary choice. And with that, I'll just maybe ask if there are any other questions. And Mr. Chair, I guess I'd ask at this point, do you want to move to the Public Works?
Let's move to Public Works. Al? Ryan?
Good morning, folks.
Welcome, Ryan and Al.
Morning.
Morning, guys.
Come on up, Ryan.
We do have some guests with us here today, too, so
See
I'm
that.
wondering if we could move to the first information item and then move back to the action items.
You bet.
Ryan Tilges.
Well, that's why he's dressed up.
Wild.
Oh, I was wondering what's going on here.
And Dr. Aaron Fudge from MSU. Would like to make a presentation to Ryan here. If you can come forward, please.
We thought it was just us here dressing up for him.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just stand right here. My name is Jim Wild. I'm a professor in the civil engineering program at Minnesota State University in Mankato. And this year we initiated our Distinguished Alumnus Award. And after a long consideration and several nominations, we decided to make this award to Ryan Tilges as the first distinguished alumnus in civil engineering from Minnesota State University, Mankato.
Wow.
All right.
Just wanted to say a few words about Ryan. We based the award on the program educational objectives, the things that we expect that graduates will accomplish after 3 to 6 years after graduation. Now, it's been a little bit longer than that, but Ryan stays active. He's on our advisory board. He comes to meetings he meets with us twice a year at least, and serves to give us some guidance in what the advisory board expects our graduates to be able to do, in addition to those program objectives. And Ryan is very active in giving field trips to the students, showing us around the construction projects that the county has going on almost every year. We do almost. And so I'm very appreciative of Ryan and Alan Forsberg as well, and the partnership that we have with the county. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Dr. White, you want to be with him? Take Ryan in the middle and then nice and symmetric there.
It's an engineering thing.
I would like to thank these gentlemen for acknowledging me for the award and my fellow alumni as well. And I truly enjoy working with the civil engineering program and still being closely tied to it. And seeing the progress that we've made over the last decade has really been phenomenal. The program is surging, and I'm very proud to have been the first graduating class and still be working with these gentlemen on putting out a very quality product. So thank you guys.
Super.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Ryan.
Congratulations, Ryan.
I think we're pretty honored, Ryan, to have you working with us.
Thank you.
I know personally what you do in helping and working with children, and you know, not only that, but you're amazing with what you do in engineering. So
Thank you very much.
thank you very much for all the work you do. We have some amazing staff, and you're right up on top.
I'm happy to be a part of it.
And it's great too, I think, Ryan was the first graduating class in the new civil engineering program at MSU, so that's pretty significant. There's rumors that I was in the first graduating class from the University of Minnesota, but that was 1866, I think.
Just a few years later, right?
So that'd be a little bit early then.
So that's not true.
Thanks, guys.
We opened bids for the 2015 bituminous maintenance overlay contract on Friday and received some very favorable bids. A summary of the bids was in your packet. What's the detailed abstract is being handed out now. Typically in the past we've had 1 or 2 contractors. This time we had 4, so that was welcome. Southern Minnesota Construction, Central Specialties, Knife River, and Dunnick Brothers. What's interesting too is we've been wondering how the petroleum asphalt prices would vary. Last year, our unit prices were about $81, and we actually made some changes in the supplemental agreement and negotiated down to $71 per ton. This year, the low bid was at $58 a ton.
Wow.
So there has been some change, and we are significantly underneath our estimate. Low bid was Southern Minnesota Construction, $2,628,870.17, or 19.8% under the estimate. The work consists of an overlay on County 90 from Highway 60 to Highway 22, which hasn't received a maintenance overlay since it was constructed, and then an overlay on County 32 from 60 down to Highway 30 in the western half of the county, and then some work at Bray Park. So I would recommend that we award to the low bidder, Southern Minnesota Construction.
With the wishes of the board?
I'll move for Southern Minnesota Construction bid acceptance for $2,920,683.
Second.
Low bid.
Got a motion and got a second. Any questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Against? That's been passed.
Okay, we also opened bids for our HSIP project, Highway Safety Improvement Program. As you may recall, we received a $580,000 grant from the federal government for signs, striping, some shouldering work around the county. That is a federal project, and we need approval from the state to award the DBE plan. The Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Plan has to be approved by the state before we can award. So we will bring that detailed abstract and a recommendation for award to the next board meeting. I'd hope we would have had it today, but we didn't get that recommendation.
All right.
For maintenance gravel, our 300 miles of gravel roads cost us about $250,000 to $300,000 per year in re-graveling costs. And we do it in 3 steps, I guess. One is we bid and award for the purchase of the gravel and the crushing of the gravel and putting in the stockpile. And then we take bids for hauling, for loading into the truck and hauling to the gravel roads around the county. That's this contract. And then we will spread the gravel with our county maintenance forces. So this contract takes care of taking our gravel out of a stockpile and spreading it to the various roads. We pay them by ton mile. So we keep track of how many tons are in the truck and how many miles they haul it. The low bid was from Max Johnson Construction with their estimated quantities, $170,750. The other bid was $176,000 from R&E Enterprises. The cost per ton is up a little bit from last year, but not substantially so. I would recommend award to Max Johnson, the low bidder.
What wishes of the board?
I'll move. Second.
Got a motion, got a second, any questions? Yes, Drew?
Just a quick question, Al. You said the cost is up a little bit for hauling. And so they're probably not factoring in, I mean, they probably just have to, I don't know, they use different fuels in their trucks or what they use, I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's, it's hard to say how they figure their equipment costs, labor costs.
Mostly
fuel costs.
labor probably, maybe.
Yeah. Last year, and I neglected to hand out the detailed abstract before we did this. Last year, the low bid was Max Johnson, $0.183 per ton mile. This year, he's at $0.195.
Okay.
The loader price, to load it per hour, or per ton, I guess.
I see, okay.
Cost per ton was 50 cents last year. This year, 60 cents.
And he still got the low bid, so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, like you said, cost of fuel is only one part of the cost.
Yeah.
You got the cost of the equipment and labor.
Right.
So there's, those trucks are not cheap.
No, they aren't.
All right, we got a motion, we got a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against? Passed.
Okay, a few weeks ago, I brought information to the board on the Saddle Club parcel located in the corner of the Indian Lake Conservation Area, corner of Indian Lake Road and County 90. You asked that I pursue that with the owner, negotiate a price. We had an appraisal done by a private expert appraiser for $62,000. Their original asking price was $65,000. They've agreed to sell it to the county for $55,000 if the board is interested. We have representatives from the Realtor and from the Saddle Club that are selling the parcel with us today.
All right. What are the wishes of the board?
I'll move the
Got a motion?
Second.
And a
I
second?
can't get my action item number 5 to open up for some reason on my iPad either, so I don't know what it is. Is that the action number?
No, 4. We're on 4.
It's number 4, okay.
Yep. It's just at the bottom.
Oh, you mean as far as listing? Yeah, I mean, there's a bookmark I've got here that, action item number 4 is listed as the gravel hauling we just did, according to my iPad, so I'm just a little confused.
Do you want me to try to find
You
it?
want to try to get it? Yeah.
Are you looking? Here, there's the Saddle Club.
Sorry to interrupt, I'm really sorry.
Mine's at number 4.
Oh, mine's not open up to that. It's really weird, isn't it?
I'm just on the agenda items.
Did you have some, any questions, Drew?
Well, I just wanted to see the detail that he had on here, so now I see it. Okay, thank you.
I could add to that, there was a question about whether the parcel was developable or not, which would of course affect the price. Environmental Services did look at it. In their opinion, a septic system and a well would be permitted there.
Would not?
Would be
Yeah, you
permitted.
could.
Yes. Yep. That's, that's an opinion at this point. You'd have to apply for the permits and they actually be approved to know that as a fact. But they did review the site, and in their opinion, it would be permitted.
Well, in that case, 2.5 acres, you could possibly get much more than this. So it's my view that they're giving us a deal. They understand that it's part of the park system, and they want to keep the beauty of the area and also keep the area open to other horseback riders. I have received a fair number of phone calls on this, and not one negative. All the phone calls I received from different people that said, you know, we want the county to buy this. This is not only for the park system for Blue Earth County, but also for the horseback riders that use the area. So I believe that they negotiated us a very good price, a price with the understanding that we would keep it for the use with the Saddle Club, and I thank them for that.
Yeah, well, and then plus it's got the extra benefit of a little bit of better access to our property that we have to work on back there. That's more my interest in it, but I think it's a fair price, and I certainly think we should move forward.
Okay.
I agree.
It's one of those win-wins, so.
Yeah.
And I hope that the Saddle Club folks can still keep it going too, you know, as far as some of the maintenance maybe, or making it look nice. I mean, I think they use it mainly for barrel practice. Is that what it's used for mostly, barrel practice?
It is, and there's also just general riding. You know, people need that type of arena just for general riding, but there's actually the equipment that's down there, it belongs to me, the Fulton barrels, but it's used for multiple things, but
Is it? Okay.
primarily set up for the speed events, which are barrels.
Okay, yeah. That's what it looked like, was barrel. So that's nice. And I did get some phone calls too. Some people that have horses and said, you know, it's nice to keep that here and keep it close.
Okay.
Maybe we can have a horseback riding thing going on. It's been a while since I've been on a horse.
We could do that with the whole board someday.
Commissioner's Trail Ride.
You got that? You got more than that?
Can I ride my Harley?
What a rodeo.
Hey, I grew up riding a horse, so it's okay. All
We
right.
didn't have cars back then.
Yeah, there you go. Figure 8 racing. No, the other thing too I think about, it goes through my mind, and this is just relating to parks and relating to, this is like a park, and I mean, it's a horse park in a sense.
It is a park.
It is a park.
You know, we are the hub of this region right here, and I think the expectation level is higher on us to try to provide stimulation for the population, which ultimately results in better health, physically, emotionally, socially, and the more we can help to nurture and to provide, you know, for our community, both the city of Mankato and the county, you know, helps the entire community. So it's hard to see all those ripple effects, but all those things do have meaning, deep meaning, and really do have a positive impact. So
I was talking to a local developer just by chance as I bought my coffee this morning, and he was saying how parks and amenities and the quality of life in an area is an important factor when industry or professionals choose where they're going to set up shop.
Yep.
So in cases like this, it may not be the tourists coming in and spending money on a meal as much as it is making our community more attractive and more desirable to industry, business, and
it's really true.
People.
I think there would be a lot of people in the Blue Earth County and Mankato area that would be amazed on how many horse owners we have here in Blue Earth County.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of horse owners in the area. And it's not cheap to own a horse. And but it's really one of those things that you have to provide for them also.
It's the only assignment I have is, maybe it's on Google, but I think Hennepin County has the most horses per capita in the state.
Really?
And so I want to know where Blue Earth County is. Okay, find out there. Maybe it's in, I could Google it. I didn't
The
have
state
that.
itself has more horses than most states in the union.
We have more horses, more boats.
I thought Florida had more horses, but I could be mistaken.
We're very high on the scale as far as horse ownership.
All right.
We'll find out where Blue Earth County is.
We had a second
Well,
highest number of pigs.
If we have nothing else, should we vote on this? All in favor?
On the floor.
We got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against? Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
And
Yeah.
the guys were very good to work with over these last several weeks as we developed this, so.
And say hi to Jane
very
for
much
me.
appreciate that.
Thank you again.
Thanks.
Okay, going backwards to the 2014 bituminous maintenance overlay contract. We could final that contract out with a resolution that would make final payment of $7,193.45 to the contractor. The work is completed. We've reached agreement on all the pay items. I would recommend that we final and make the final payment.
The wishes of the board.
Move approval.
Got a motion?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
For Jesse.
Against? That's passed.
Okay. Every year is part of our county state aid highway process, and our state aid, or our share of the gas tax, is our biggest source of revenue for our county highway department. We prepare an annual report and submit it to the state to document expenses on maintenance and construction on our state aid system. It's quite an extensive report. It's done off software that we've acquired that's basically in common with almost all the counties. I don't know if we really want to go through the whole report in
I don't
detail.
think we really want to go through the
I
whole
don't think
report.
we would unless you want to go into dinner time tonight.
There is a summary of major work items that I've written, page 2B1. There's a liabilities and fund balance reserves, kind of a snapshot of our financial position on page 7. There's details on the maintenance costs for our county state aid highways, a new chart from the new inroads program this year, page 14A. There's information on each road out there, both CASA and our county road system, on what the maintenance costs were and what the construction costs were. There's information on each construction project that was active last year, very detailed information. And then in the back, page 24, there are some charts, the last 4 pages, I guess, that summarize it as well as all those numbers from a higher altitude. Page 24 has graphs showing where the money comes from. And you can see the state aid construction, our biggest source of money, state aid maintenance, our road and bridge levy, some special funds, bridge bonding, township bridge funds, local road improvement program grant, other grants, and construction reimbursement. So when we do a project in the city like Madison Lake, some of the costs for the sanitary sewer, water main, and so on are local costs. That's that reimbursement.
That's what we assess them, right?
Yes, basically, yes. So last year, the total funds were $16,800,000. How we spent that money? About 67% was construction projects, about 2% administration. The balance was maintenance and equipment purchases. And we spent more money than we got, but was because of money that was carried over from our cash turnback funds for County 17. If you look at the next page, personnel services in construction, about 93% is contracts, and about 7% are in-house engineering costs. So you can see we're largely privatized in the construction area. Maintenance breakdown, about 60% contracts and supplies, 33% personnel services, 7% equipment. So we spend a considerable amount on equipment every year, but it's about 7% of the new value of that equipment. And it's enough to keep our equipment stable. The main piece is stable and reliable and usable. As we discussed before, we've deferred some of the pieces that are essential to us, but don't get as much use as our trucks and our loaders and mowing tractors and so on. If you look at trends over the years, expenditures from 2005 through 2014, you see that it varies quite a bit. And those are big construction contracts like County 17 and County 12. If you look at the funding trends over the years, and you've got the red there in local funds, green state funds in the top, federal funds. You can see how they've increased over the years, but if you adjust into constant 1970 dollars using the Engineering News Record construction index, you can see it's been very flat and even declining in some of these years, which is a problem because costs have gone up substantially and the use of our system has gone up substantially. So that's our annual report for the Highway Department in a nutshell.
Do you need a motion to accept that?
I think in the past we have had, yes.
I'll move approval.
Second. Motion and a second.
Go ahead, Mark.
The only thing I'm going to ask is if there's a possibility you could put this electronically in the future instead of making it into books.
Yep.
You know, the books are fine, except that when I want some amazing reading material and I'm up in a hotel room somewhere, I can open this up and read it.
Yeah.
And you know I would.
I know you would.
Always bring it along.
And, but it would save labor dollars for somebody putting it together. It would save trees for not having to, you know, print it off. And this day and age is just everybody's got their iPads. All the commissioners have their iPads, and I believe most employees, especially supervisors, have. And it would just make sense that we had this electronically on our. So that's the only thing I'm going to ask.
Yeah, we shall do that for both highways and parks next year. Jesse and I have already conspired on how to accomplish that.
Nice. All right.
Great, thank you.
It's not statutory.
All right, do you have a question?
Just one. Yeah.
Yes.
And there, I'm sure there must be a specific purpose in this, because I remember just going through it like you did now, and I looked at it again now. But the Parks Department isn't inside this. It's just strictly your road and bridges, correct?
Yes.
So it's not, there's no budget included in your item or anything for the parks?
No. The parks has its own separate report, however.
Okay.
Yep. And the reason that is that this is put together for our state aid documentation
That's the
requirements.
main reason, okay.
Yeah.
There's a function of it.
We are required to have an annual report for county state aid highway purposes.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was my question. Doesn't preclude you. You still could do it online. Do you still then have to do?
Oh, I'm sure we could.
Statute? There's no statute or anything.
We may have to provide a paper copy to the state.
To the state aid.
In fact, we'd probably still make a paper copy and have some paper copies because all of these charts and tables come off from this Inroads computer program. They're not Word or Excel files. So we produce a paper copy that would meet our state requirements, our in-house requirements, and then we would scan it in a PDF file and attach it to the board minutes. It's how we're doing our plans and specs, actually. Most of our contractors are receiving them and bidding them based on electronic versions that they receive and print out themselves.
If we have no more questions, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? And now I believe you have the parks.
Yes, and Dean presented information on the parks at our park board meeting and at our joint county board park board meeting, so I don't know if there's a need to go through that again. There are charts on page 9 that show some information. Basically, the park system is about a $600,000 per year operation. Page 9 shows a chart, camping reservation revenue, boat rental revenue, wood sales. And as I say, lots of information on the equipment that's owned and on each park and the use that each park has got.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I'll move approval of the parks. Second annual report.
Got a motion and a second for acceptance of the parks report. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? That's passed.
Our accountant that has worked for us for years in preparing these reports and in managing our office, Karen Langford, is retiring.
Yes.
Friday is her last day.
Now, do you have somebody new hired?
Yes, she's to start May 26th.
Really? Very
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
We'll have to come up and greet her.
So we're looking forward to that.
And what's her name?
Pam Hahn,
Okay. Where was she from?
Sibley County.
Sibley County. So we stole somebody from Sibley County.
Yes.
Incentivized.
Is Karen, her last name says what day?
I'll be meeting with the county engineers from this area tomorrow. So
I'm sure we'll hear about it at our district meeting coming up in a couple weeks too, so.
Yeah.
All right. All right. What else you got for us?
Well, information items. We did number one. We mentioned the HSIP grant for 2014. We were fortunate and received another HSIP grant. $589,230. So between those two grant receipts, we will have received over $1 million in HSIP, federal safety funds. So we're looking forward to putting that plan and spec together. Will be for year 2017, I believe. Status of construction projects. Our big reconstruction project this year, number one, from Trunk Highway 30 to Good Thunder, is awarded to RNG Construction. We've had delays for two reasons. One, the Army Corps of Engineers permit, even though we submitted the application in December, has not been received yet. In conversation with the Corps yesterday, we expect it on Thursday. The MPCA permit, I think, deserves a little discussion. The MPCA Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan has two components. And Ryan is more expert than myself, so you may need to correct me. But the first component is the temporary component. Over the years, that's been evolving and has been enforced, and that's why you see silt fences and mulch, straw, all these elaborate measures everywhere. The next step is to refine the permanent erosion control plan. And in the past for our projects, we would create it's called a SWIP, Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan. We would apply for a permit. We did not have to send the plan in unless it was a big project. Number one, it's big enough. It creates over 50 acres of disturbance, so we had to send the plan in, and they're requiring that we revise the plan. The general permit that was issued in 2013 and became effective for all projects 18 months later, which was not too long ago, requires that first inch of runoff off new impermeable surfaces be treated. So we're going from 2-foot shoulders to 6-foot shoulders. Some of it's bituminous, some of it's gravel, but it's all considered impermeable. So we have to treat the water volume for the first inch of rainfall coming off that additional impervious surfaces, which is a 4-foot wider shoulder. The options are, they would like you to infiltrate it. That's not really practical because of the clay soils we have and because of the shallow separation between the ditch bottom and where the soil is saturated. The next option is create holding ponds like the city of Mankato has, if you have willing sellers. Well, our farmers do not want to sell us land to make a holding pond out in the middle of their field someplace. The next option is filtration. So we just developed and are sending in today a plan where we would, in certain sections of the ditch where it works out, have a check dam, have a trench filled with P-rock, a drain tile in the bottom that runs out. We're hoping, we think that will be considered adequate filtration. It's what was used on the County 17 project, actually. But, after that's done, I do intend on having more discussions with the PCA, because if you look at that project and you look at one half of the road from the center line that away, yes, we're creating 4 foot more of impermeable surfaces for that shoulder, but we typically go from 33 feet to 50 foot of right of way so that we can have more gentle slopes, ditch bottom, more gentle slope back up. So we're adding 14 feet of grass.
Oh, I see.
And a grass swale, a vegetated waterway, is considered treatment for water quality. And it is. That's why our ditches fill up with sediment as the years go by, because it's picking up that sediment that's in the water. So we need to get this project underway. We're submitting our permit with that filtration process.
Okay.
But I do want to talk to them about whether that's reasonable or not and whether it's effective or not.
Al, you have to do this still on level ground? It seems to me you'd only need to do that if there's a slope, like you're going up a hill, and then to reduce erosion.
There are other best management practices that are implemented throughout the project in the stormwater pollution prevention plan and the erosion control plan. So we have measures installed on the project. Al said with the silt fence, ditch checks, bio rolls, straw mulch, those are all to prevent that type of erosion from
during the construction process.
Correct.
What I mean is the permanent ones.
Yeah,
I've never seen those in place unless there's a slope on the road going up or down a hill.
If you do have steep slopes, you have additional requirements for preventing erosion. The permit, the general permit, which I read recently, is 34 pages long. The stormwater manual that describes how you implement that permit is 885 pages long. So if you'd like more detail, I'd be happy to share that. Share that with you.
Maybe it's even online, I don't know.
You're right.
It is.
It's acceptable practices.
Minnesota Stormwater Manual.
Perennial vegetation for filtration. And that is acceptable practice for water treatment, so I don't know what the story is.
It is a water treatment strategy. You know, when you look at that project and the regulatory requirements, we have a DNR public water permit. There's, I believe, 2 public waters with pipes. There's a Board of Water and Soil Resources Wetland Conservation Act permit, because these pipes inevitably have small wetlands at both ends. We have an Army Corps of Engineers permit that we hope to receive Thursday, because we're affecting waters of the United States, even though there's no good definition of what a water of the United States is. And we'll have MPCA temporary and permanent stormwater permit.
All right. Al, I'm going to ask you to kind of speed this up. We got some time frame issues that we have to work with. So,
how much time do I have left here?
Well, I think you're past your time, but that's okay.
Okay. It's a major project in their status. County 12 from 17 to 83. We're working on right-of-way acquisition surveys and borings. We're preparing a Tiger grant application.
That's due this month, isn't it?
Yes, well, June 5th.
Oh, June 5th, okay.
County 72, Kendall Street and Vernon Center. There's been a delay because the consultant for the city proceeded to bid opening without having state aid plans approved and without having an MPCA permit. But we will work through that, and it will still get done. Had a very interesting meeting with Jeff Johnson, Landon Bodie, Michael McCarty from the city engineering staff on a number of design coordination items with County 12 extension, including the Hoffman Road intersection specific location. There's 4 landowners affected by exactly where that Hoffman Road intersection is. Jack and I have met with all 4 of them. We have 3 that are pleased, 1 that's would like it moved a little bit. For the Hoffman Road extension from where the city stops, Hoffman Road will be extended east, and then it will go south, and Prairie Winds Road to the new junior high. From that location where their Hoffman Road stops to our County 12, the concept has been that the county would design it and build it. We would have an agreement with the city that they would reimburse us for their street cost when it's annexed and developed. So that's an agreement that would need to take place for a potential future intergovernmental committee discussion item on the nature of that agreement.
We got one of those coming up here pretty soon, don't we?
Perhaps. We've received word that the city might not be available, so we'll see.
Okay.
It's on the order of $500,000 to $700,000.
Okay.
Hafner Drive, I included some data, I think, on the crashes there.
Yeah.
And discussed that with the city. Their engineering staff anyway felt that when Adams is extended, which they hope to accomplish, that will relieve traffic from that intersection, and they'd like to see what happens if Adams is extended.
I guess I have come across some very bad accidents in that area, and I don't think it has anything to do with Adams Street. It's people coming across from Panera going over to Hy-Vee, or Hy-Vee coming across to I really believe that we need to be a little bit more forceful. We have our public safety to consider.
Yeah.
And we need to look at that intersection and say, yeah, we're going to have to do something, and either to make a better interchange system there, either a 3/4 or a left in, right out type of thing.
Yeah.
But it's dangerous. It's one of the worst intersections, I believe, probably in the Mankato area right now.
We have layouts on how that could be handled. The 2 legs are city streets, the 2 legs are county highway, so we need to partner with the city on a solution, and there again, that could be your intergovernmental committee discussion.
Well, it's, you know, and I appreciate the city coming out and saying, well, we'd like to see what happens when Adams Street is extended. Number one, we don't know when that's going to happen. And I don't want somebody being killed between now and then just because we're waiting.
Yeah. And the solution is very inexpensive. Close the median, we can make a 3/4 intersection, or modify the median, we can make a 3/4 intersection very economically.
We've already got the J-turn on the east side. We got the roundabout on the west side. Very easy to take those to get through that. So something really needs to happen there. But I do understand that we have to work with all of our partners with that. But I hate to wait the years that we might have to wait if we're waiting for Adams Street to connect with 12. But
no, I understand, and I'd certainly be happy to support, any joint meetings that could work in that direction or look at that problem.
Okay.
A potential cooperative trail project, Buzzards Act to Skylark along Victory. There's no room to carry it all the way to Stadium because of the bluff there, but there is a sidewalk along Skylark. We discussed that with the city, and they've taken the lead. We've split the cost 50-50. I believe that Jeff is looking at that possibility. We had CASA 60 Stadium Road on the plan for mill and overlay this year. We took it off as a joint decision with the city because there's a need for additional lighting. The city has an assessment process for assessing to abutting commercial landowners overlays. So what we will be working on together is a mill and overlay for Stadium Road and CASA 8 or amongst from Stadium South, including lighting and including the assessments. The city would take the lead on that since they do the assessment process. And then we would pay our share through a cooperative agreement. 147, we're waiting for SHPO to approve the mitigation plan, which consists of a canoe launch and an observation deck. And then bridges, very nice article in the Free Press about bridge funding.
Yep.
We do need bonding for local bridges badly. We've been working on the Munson, Mealy, LeSueur Riverbank erosion mitigation projects. Ryan has been taking the lead with that. We have purchase agreements out to both parties. We're waiting for them to sign those and provide clear title to their property so that we can actually buy them and then contract for their demolition.
Very good.
Any indication when that might occur, or they're still looking over their agreements?
Yes. They both understand the situation, and both parties are working on it. But as I say, we've provided the purchase agreement. We need clear title, evidence of clear title, and then we can purchase it.
Okay. Thank you very much, Al.
You're quite welcome. Thank you.
Congratulations, Ryan.
Thank you. Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Do we have the attorney here to?
I believe so. We can close the meeting.
Hope you have room on
We're
your
going
wall.
to be closing the meeting at this time. That'll be. We're going to ask anybody to step outside. We will be shutting off all electronic recording equipment during this time period so that we can have our closed meeting. This is to protect the attorney-client privilege communications as permitted by Minnesota State Statute 13D.05, Subdivision 3B, to discuss pending lawsuits involving claimed accesses of the Driver Vehicle Services Database. We'll call the meeting back to order. We're going to be talking about the settlement recommendation on the Dory Jessen versus Blue Earth County case.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, before you is a resolution that has been prepared by legal counsel that is the outcome of a settlement conference regarding this particular case. It has to do with claimed accesses of the Driver and Vehicle Services database, and so we're recommending approval of this resolution and settlement.
What are the wishes of the board?
I'd move approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? The resolution is passed. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Thanks for coming and presenting and helping us with this.
Oh, thank you very much. Have a good trip back. Thank you.
And if you wish to talk with him
Is that okay?
out in the hall.
Okay, yep.
Okay, let's get back to some administrative services. Bob?
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, item number 5 in your packet is a well sealing program grant agreement. This is a grant agreement from Department of Natural Resources to our Environmental Services Department for a well sealing program. The grant contract does provide $49,000 through December 30th of 2016 for sealing of wells in our county, so recommending approval of this grant agreement.
So moved the well sealing.
Second.
You got a motion and a second. Any questions or concerns?
Just that it's good that we can get some assistance with this process. I know we've got who knows how many wells that may be not sealed, and that's one of the things that concerns a lot of people. If there's a large rain, and something were to drain down into the water table where people drink that water, and so this is a real health safety issue, and so it helps to solve that problem.
Yes, and I can add that the DNR is providing these grant funds from a cleanup fund that they've accumulated through fines to different pipelines, and they like to reinvest those funds in the county in which the pipeline existed, and so we're the recipient of a significant amount of money for this purpose.
Okay. All right. No other questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against? It's been passed.
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, then, item number 6 in the packet is the financial status report for April 30th of this year. We're a third of the way through the year, and so our revenues, not surprisingly, are running a little bit behind because of our property tax collection schedule. We'll see better results at the end of May and into June when we get our first half property tax collections, but overall, we'll continue to see those revenue numbers increase as we get into the summer. On the expenditure side, our total expenditures compared to our budget are at about 26%, running a little bit behind expected amounts, but again, with the summer construction season just getting going, we'll see those numbers rebound a little bit as those projects get started and the billings start occurring. Other expenses seem to be in line though with the budget overall, so at this point we have expenses that exceed our revenues by quite a bit, but we'll make some of that up with the first half property tax collections.
Okay.
Under the Ponderosa landfill, you'll see there that revenues are exceeding our expenditures, and so that enterprise fund is continuing to perform well. The second page of the report then just gets into our cash and investment balances. We're at kind of the low point of our fiscal year in terms of cash reserves, as we're again waiting for those first half tax payments to come in. you'll see that our total available funds are 26 million compared to a 6-month operating needs target of 42 million. Overall, though, we still have significant reserves in those committed areas, so we're sitting in good financial position.
Okay.
Any questions from the board?
No. We have anything else, Bob?
Nothing more today, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Well, then if I can call for a recess.
I'll make a motion to call for recess for luncheon at Pub 500.
Second. All right. And again, I won't be able to meet with you today. I got my Children's Museum board meeting at noon. Surprisingly, we got out this early, so
Yeah.
But,
Such a heavy burden you have, Mr. Chair.
you know, I just have amazing board members.
Well run, Mr. Chair.